tomorrow all the things were gone. I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Central Valley Talk. My name is Ray Johns, and the name of my show is Voices Not Yet Heard. And like we say every week, we hope perhaps today will be your vehicle so that your voice might just get heard. You know, this is our first show after the inauguration, and if there's a little pep in my voice, it's because I'm so excited about Donald Trump being where he's at. You know, and I've got to tell you, I've got Gary Clemente again with me, and we're going to bring him in here in a few minutes. I want to say a couple of things before that, but he is the only person I know that called this election outright. I mean, he was saying landslide 3 months before, a month before the election, and that just blows my mind. I mean, he never wavered. The rest of us wavered, he didn't. Anyway, and that's why I had the nerve to tell you that Donald Trump is going to win this thing, because I believe so much in Gary. You know, I want to talk to you about a little something that came to me last night that I don't understand, and it's all the murders and stuff that's happening in Chicago. And I found out that, you know, New York has almost 9 million people. And of 2006, all this is going to blow your mind. 2016, they had about 190 something murders. Los Angeles has close to 4 million people, I understand, 3.6 or something like that, and they had 147, I think, murders. Chicago doesn't even has about 2.4 million. So if you add up the two largest cities in the country, LA and New York, they come out at about 12 million, and Chicago's about 1/4 of that. Chicago last year had almost 900 murders, if you can believe that. And we'll talk a little bit later of why I think that is through research. And they've got a mayor, Emanuel, who is so liberal. I think the police on the street do the job. I think the people at the top don't. That's basically it. And one more, before I bring Gary in, one more fact I found out today. As of January 22nd, the first 22 days into this new year, there have been 42 murders in Chicago. That's 2 murders a day. That is ridiculous. I mean, can you believe that? 2 murders a day. And 228 shootings, which turns out to be, this is shootings. About 10 people get shot in Chicago every single year. Gary, welcome to the show. Aren't those startling figures?
Yeah, you know, Trump already told Emanuel that either you get that straightened out or we're coming in there with the Fed.
And I hope they do.
Well, I mean, the point is, I hope he gets it straightened out. But if he doesn't, we're not going to go on like that.
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, you know, you look at it, and you know, they've got the same demographics basically as New York and Los Angeles. They're basically the same. So why is it that they have 4 or 5 times the murders? You know, more than that.
Right. Well, somebody obviously is not doing their job.
Absolutely. And some people at the top, Gary.
Well, it is the people at the top. And Emanuel, if you go back with him, clear back when he was with Clinton, that guy's always been a weasel as far as I could tell. I mean, I remember from day one.
I didn't know that until recently, but you're absolutely right.
I remember him back then, and he was nothing but a god darn weasel.
Yeah.
And that's what he is today,
Sure.
you know. But without a lot of fanfare, basically what he pointed out, just like you did, the statistics that's going on there. And he made a flat statement. He said, hey, you either straighten it out or we're sending in the feds.
See, he means business.
And
He's
that's
trying
it.
to-
He didn't elaborate more than that.
Good.
That was it.
Good. I
Yeah.
am so glad, and I hope
Yeah.
they do. You know, they've got people that they're afraid to go out at night. People
Well,
that have bought their. It's ridiculous.
That's
in
not the
this
way you're
country.
supposed to live in
No.
America. And like
No.
what Trump said, now wait a minute, now I'm president, and that's not the way America is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So we're going to, you take care of it.
I love his. I
Yeah.
love the way he takes
Yeah.
command. He said, He didn't say we're going to think about it. We're going to do something about
No,
it.
he will. But he's giving him enough time to see if he can straighten up.
Yeah.
his
I don't
act.
think he can.
Of course not. You
I
know, the
don't
guy's
think he-
been incompetent since day one, and all he does is lived off the fat of taxpayers
That's exactly what he's
from
doing.
day one. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a weasel.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
exactly what he's doing. While the people are the ones that
Well,
are
of course,
suffering,
you know, and people have done that forever, and or we've been doing that for all seems like
Yeah.
ever, you know.
So, what do you think about all this good stuff that's happening here in America?
Well, there's so darn much of it, I don't know where to begin. But you know, I read on the other day where all the Trump's campaign, he'd say, "Well, we're going to win, 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 and win and win. You're going to get so tired of us winning that you're going to say, stop, too much winning. Let's lose once in a while." And I'll be darned if I go on some of these websites and people are saying that. I'm just tired of winning.
That's hilarious. I love it.
You know, and it just win after win, you know.
He said that last night. You know, and by the way, people, for those of you that don't know, he's going to be on Hannity tonight. Hannity's going to interview him, and I'm going to ask Gary a little later in the show to maybe tell you some places where you guys can tune in on your computers and stuff. And what Gary does is he just goes to Trump's Twitter, right, Gary?
Well, I go to Trump's Twitter, but then I go to Breitbart,
Breitbart,
and that's a
so that you know.
yes,
you know.
respectable, what they call alternative media.
Yeah, the
you know.
Dredge Report. And I don't know, there's a lot of people that aren't watching Lou Dobbs. I mean, Lou Dobbs, Gary told me, is just,
Yeah.
he's just great. I think he comes on the same time as, if I'm not mistaken, it's Hannity or it's Bill O'Reilly, but I'm not sure. I think he might be
I
close to
don't
the same
know.
time.
I don't know if he does or not. I've watched Lou Dobbs. I get him on there again on one of these.
Yeah, well, they all repeat,
Yeah.
so that's what makes
Well,
it
what they
easy.
do, like for instance, I go to a deal called Truth Feed,
Truth Feed.
and then what they have is the clips of all these shows. So,
Yeah.
so I don't have. I mean, all of them.
Oh, that's good.
So if
Yeah.
I Lou Dobbs, I just clip in. I don't
See,
have
I
to
didn't
listen.
know that.
Yeah.
This is wonderful news. So could you tell them again?
Well,
Truth Feed?
you got Breitbart, Truth Feed,
Which will give you everybody,
yeah,
huh?
and probably the most intellectual or
Dredge Report?
would be it's called Last Refuge.
Oh,
Last
you told me
Refuge,
about
yeah.
that before, I think. Last Refuge.
Yeah, and they have excellent people that come in and make comments and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have the Drudge Report, and that branches off to whatever. There's plenty that you get out there. Another one, I'll forget her name. I'll think of it pretty quick. Laura Ingram's. She has a website, and it's excellent.
Well, I didn't even know about Hannity. Luckily, Sandra keeps me up on this. She emailed me or texted me on my way to the show today to tell me that, and she's great at that. So it keeps me on top of things because I'm always so busy. So, and by the way, thank you, honey, for doing that.
You know, as far as the regular broadcasting shows, I just don't go to them anymore. They're totally out of
Oh, absolutely.
out of my realm as far as what I care to be
There's so-
influenced
you
by.
know, you and I have talked about this before. CNN and some of these
my
shows
God,
are
yeah.
just so one-sided. I mean, let's take the inauguration. This is a perfect example. That was the most important thing going on. What's CNN showing? They're showing the rioters.
Yeah.
They're showing the rioters.
They're showing the riders, and they show the crowd 4 to 6 hours before it. That was the best crowd in the history of an inauguration.
And by the way, Gary pointed something out to me, and he's absolutely right. Prior to the show, he and I are getting situated here. These people are not demonstrators. They are rioters.
Oh yeah, they're rioters. They're
Just
being
so you
paid
know.
by George Soros.
Being paid by George
fact,
Soros.
they-
I mean,
they-
this has been proven earlier.
Well, they
Doing the-
interviewed
doing-
15 in a row the other day.
Yeah.
Every one of them said they were paid, and they didn't know what they were there for. Other than they were told to go there and they get paid so much.
So they come in.
They didn't
They
vote.
throw things at our
Yeah.
policemen. They destroy property because they're getting paid. These people should
Yeah.
be in jail.
Well,
they
and,
should be in
and
jail.
so should George Soros.
And
by a
so
long
should
shot.
George Soros for
Yeah.
doing it. Him especially, in
Oh,
fact.
absolutely. I don't know how. I keep thinking, how in the world can't they get him for inciting a riot or something? That's against the law, you know.
Exactly.
But,
and that's what they are.
I read something just before coming over here, you heard of Bannon, who is
Yeah.
Trump's strategist. Well, he was part of developing that media Breitbart.
Oh, he was. I didn't know that.
Him and the guy that Breitbart himself passed away young. I think he's
Yeah.
only 63 if he's that. But anyway, this Bannon, Trump has been behind. He's been behind Trump ever since prior to the election, and was instrumental in getting him elected.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's considered probably one of the geniuses that we have.
I knew he was sharp, real sharp.
And this is what he said today, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
good.
And it's about the media.
Okay.
And I quote this. He said, "The media here is the opposition party. They are, in fact, a party in itself.
Sure.
We have so Trump was fighting the Democrats, but he was also
So
fighting the major media as a party. Okay, they don't understand this country, and that is, I talk to more people that will, and they get the feeling that says, well, how do those people come up with that? They don't understand you, me, okay, and they're owned, of course, by the uniparty or
Yeah.
the establishment.
Yeah. The elite, huh?
Okay, they will not understand why Donald Trump is the president of the United States. Those major media who followed the Trump campaign were outright activists for Hillary Clinton. It is why the major media no longer has power." Final.
Kennedy said it.
Yeah.
Journalism is dead.
Yeah.
Beautiful piece, Gary.
Yeah,
Thank you
this
for that.
was,
Thank you.
Bannon said that, I guess, this morning or something,
Mm-hmm.
but I picked it up.
Beautiful.
And but they have neglected. Well, they've neglected coming in contact with the people in America. Now, who came in contact with more people than anybody as far as out in the
No one, Donald Trump.
all the way
Absolutely.
with those
you know,
rallies? What's that airplane going up?
Yeah.
every day, sometimes 3-4 times a day.
Yeah.
So he got to meet different people from different areas,
Mm-hmm.
just like here in Fresno. I've never seen any of that. I've never seen what's his name, Anderson Cooper. I've never seen him here at Fresno. Have you?
No,
But you've seen Donald Trump here.
no. And you won't see them. Yeah. Yeah, we've seen Donald Trump came twice.
Yeah.
That's how Gary and I met, by the way,
Yeah.
at the first Trump rally.
So they're just totally out of touch, even to the point they just can't even fathom that they're not out of touch. I mean, they're not even questioned. They can't do that. Yeah. And so Trump has this new press guy, that gives the briefing, and they're doing away with all those rules. And one of the rules that they've done away with is it's just first come, first serve. So it's no longer just ABC. You get
Yeah.
that chair next.
You
right?
got that chair, yeah.
And they're becoming marginalized more and more people, because I hear it, more people are giving up on even watching them, and it's down to where Fox is being watched by more than anyone.
That's good.
Excellent,
because they give an accurate account. And you said that prior to the election, and you said, Fox is giving you look at CNN, you look at any of the others, and they were so anti-Trump, all of them.
Right. Well, they were an opposition party.
Yeah.
There was every bit.
You're right, though.
They were every bit in opposition of Trump as they were as Clinton people were. I mean, that was like two people.
They were a party within themselves, like you said.
Right. Yeah,
It's
they're a
true.
party
I never
within
looked at it
themselves.
like that,
Yeah.
but it's true.
Yeah, and so people, woke up, and of course, what Trump was doing, he was going all over. I mean, you couldn't hardly pick up a day that he's not giving a rally somewhere.
Yeah.
He was educating people. That was an education
You're
process.
doggone right it was.
Let's put it this way: I learned a heck of a lot more once he became a candidate than I ever done in
I
my
did
own
too.
way.
I did
Because
too.
I started hearing what he's saying, researching it, and all of a sudden, little by little, I started getting.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I did it for the show, but I started.
Yeah.
Like you said, he would say something, I'd research it and say, "Whoa!" It was like some of it was an eye opener for me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's some stuff that was scary, like the deep state, as an example. I never knew something like that
Yeah.
existed. I mean, you get to looking into what that thing's all about. Well, you begin to realize, hey, this country isn't controlled by anybody but a few people
Exactly.
up until Trump. Why? Well, because Trump is not owned by anybody.
No.
There is no politician
He has no special interest to pay.
All politicians have a special interest
They all
to
do.
pay.
Every
Yeah.
single one of them. And that's and you know, Gary and I are very conservative Republicans, but we have to say it. Even our party,
Right.
Even our
oh,
party,
absolutely.
all the people
oh
in
my
our
God,
party.
that's
yes.
what exactly.
You know?
In fact, it's really like what Trump's up against, and what the people has to realize. Yeah, I'm a Republican. You're a Republican, but in reality, we're a different party.
Yes.
I don't have any more thoughts that the Republicans who allowed all this to happen all this time and didn't do anything about it. Well, then why do I think that's supposed to be so good? And they're just like they're just another party.
You know,
Like,
it
you know.
it just amazes me, and Gary and I've talked about this before. What amazes me is how, like, and we've said this 4 or 5 times. I have. You know, he stood on that stage with 18 other people, and one by one he eliminated them. And he had to fight the Democrats. He had to fight our own party
right.
to stand where he's. That's the kind of man I want running this country. Somebody that never gives up, and it didn't matter. I mean, they were all. Every time you looked at the media, they were saying Trump hadn't. They laughed at him the very first time he was standing on the stand.
A lot of those people are fired right now, like George
Exactly.
Will and some of those.
Exactly.
They're completely out of touch, and it's a disservice to the American people
Yes, it
because they
is.
live in a bubble called Washington, D.C., never get out of it.
Yeah,
They're elitist, both parties,
both parties.
and they're elitist and they're opportunists, and they have taken advantage and stolen off the backs of the American people, which we have a right to be mad.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna use
and the American, the American people finally got fed up. They listened to Trump and they thought, you know what? These are the people that are running this country, that have ran this country, and look where this country is.
Well,
and that's part of draining the swamp.
Well, and thank God there was enough of them that did wake up.
Yeah.
And I'll say
That's
this.
what scared me. I was
Well,
hoping
I'll
there
tell you
would be
what,
enough.
it crossed all nationalities and all colors, and
Exactly.
there was just enough that had gotten wise
Yeah.
about it, right? Okay, so I think that what we've actually woken up to, where we think differently now. We understand that we have to understand that the rioters, okay, the Democrats. There's a lot of Democrats that really aren't Democrats at all, as what you think should be a Democrat. There's a tremendous amount of them ought to be Republicans, and they are switching.
Yes, they are.
You know, I mean, who wants to be identified with a bunch of snowflakes that are out there riding and whimpering and whining with
Exactly.
Play-Doh and all? Who wants to
Exactly.
be with somebody like
know.
that? Or like these women march. Do those women realize that what it's like in Saudi Arabia, and they backed Hillary Clinton, who is a Saudi Arabia disciple, if
They
you
gave
will,
$25 million to the Clinton campaign. Wake up, people.
and they were chopping heads
Yeah.
of women. I saw it on. It was graphic.
Oh.
I saw him chop a woman's head because of just what we would think. Well, how do you do that? She went to a store without her husband,
I read about that.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, and they get stoned, and they can't go anywhere unless their husband goes with them. And if they get raped, they get punished because they did get raped. Now, these are the women that are supposedly backing Hillary Clinton and what Hillary Clinton believes in. Now, I have no use for that.
No.
I don't even. They really don't concern me at all. I just
No,
say
me either.
yeah.
I don't care. I was so glad that Fox did it the right way, which of course they
Yeah.
have all the time.
Right.
But like I said, it just blew me away that CNN is covering. This is the inauguration of the 45th president of the United States, and they're showing rioters. It's like at a baseball game. Somebody throws a Major League Baseball game. Somebody throws a beach ball on the field. They won't even show it. Because
Yeah.
it's nothing. They want to get back to the game. They won't give those people any
Satisfaction.
at all. And that's what I praise Fox for being what they are and for doing that. For not giving these people any satisfaction.
Well, look at Tucker Carlson. Who his ratings are through the roof,
And he just got started.
and he just got started. He's doubled Megyn Kelly's ratings.
Oh yeah.
Now
And
think
he
about
took her
that.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she was like the golden girl for those
Oh, yeah.
people. But he has doubled her ratings. I mean, it's
Isn't that amazing?
phenomenal.
And in a short amount of time.
And he really knows how to interview,
Oh, he's excellent.
Yeah.
He's excellent. I watch him every night.
I do too. I put him right there with old Lou Dobbs and
Yeah.
that,
Hannity, all of them.
Right. And so, as far as what we're going to be seeing, they're going to have to change if they want to have any kind of influence at all, because they're dead.
Yeah.
And the only one that's coming out, of course, is the Fox. But people, I'd say, under the age of 50 years old, more and more of those people are not even going to turn on their TV. They're going to go straight to their computer and go to these various social media websites. I mean, I love it, because not only do I get to see what was being said on TV, but I get comments of other people. Now, some of them are
I love
Looney
that, yeah.
You know, some are Looney Tunes, but some of them are pretty darn
Yeah.
good. Well, you pick up a little more knowledge that
Yeah,
way.
you do. Yeah, you do. Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, you pick up a little more knowledge or another slant at it, and you say, "Oh, I hadn't looked at it like this guy's looking at it." It gets pretty interesting. Like that guy says, "Win, win, win, win." I'm tired of winning. So
Yeah. He said this morning in Philadelphia, he said, "Isn't it nice to win?"
Yeah.
You know, we haven't won in so long. Isn't it nice to win? You know, and the whole mood of the country, Gary.
Oh, yeah.
The whole mood of the country is getting more positive. I see it every day.
well, you
And-
see, that's right.
you
You,
know-
see what happened to those car people, you know, the auto people.
yeah.
And they come out of there all excited. You see what the union people come out of there?
Yes.
They come out of there all excited.
Yeah, that big
know?
guy that was talking.
Yeah.
Boy, that guy looked like he was a leg breaker, didn't he? He was talking, but he was very intelligent,
Oh,
very
yeah,
articulate. This guy, you know, and he was extremely pleased.
Oh,
with
absolutely.
after meeting with Donald Trump, and you know, we talked about this before. Gary was one of the first people that I know that pointed this out. I don't know where Trump gets his energy. I have no idea where this man gets his energy. I mean, I'll bet he doesn't sleep but 4 hours a night. If
Well,
he
I heard
sleeps
that's about all he does. Yeah.
and he's up. And Gary was telling me prior to the show today that how he calls people at 2:00 in the morning because I guess he thinks of things that he wants to get
Yeah.
done, and he just does it. That's the man I want in the White House running my country. That's
Well,
the man.
if you think what's been done in the last week, I even thought, man, that inaugural was that a week ago?
Yeah, it seems like
Yeah, it seemed like it was because
like
of
it
what's
was
been
weeks
done,
ago.
because
Yeah.
of what he's been doing.
Yeah.
Now here's what's cute. Okay, the Congress, Democrats, and the Republicans go right in the middle and go on some kind of a sabbatical or what the hell ever it is. All right, but here's what's cute. You got Trump sitting there. The people that needs to be running these departments and be doing that, well, Trump sits there, and he doesn't wait. And he says, "Well, you're not going to put Ray in charge of this over here?" No. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to do it then.
Yeah, and he just does it himself.
until you get Ray over here, and he does himself.
Yeah.
It's like an owner of a construction company going out to the job site and seeing that backhoe with nobody on it because the guy didn't show up that day.
So he
Well,
goes.
Yeah, does he go back? No, he gets on the backhoe.
That's
what-
Donald Trump.
That's Donald Trump.
a great
Yeah.
analogy. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Gary, we're gonna take a little break here, and we'll come back. I'm enjoying this so much. We got a new president, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, and he is surging. By the way, so we're gonna be back and say 2 and 2. I'm back with Gary, of course. Listen, I wanted to tell you that if you're watching me now, I'm live. The number will appear on the screen. Feel free to call in. Gary and I would love to talk to you. We'd love your opinion about some of this stuff, and you do not have to agree with us. That's what this show is all about. Okay? So, Gary?
Yeah, I was going to mention, Trump mentioned the other day that we had spent $6 trillion
I
over
heard that.
in Iraq. You heard that, right? I also heard that Obama bailing out what ultimately is the banks, but the car industry, you remember that?
Yeah, oh, yeah, I remember the bailout.
What was really bailing out the banks.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, breaking that down, the amount of money that he used to bail them out would have given every man, woman, and child in the United States $10,000.
Good grief.
Think about that.
Oh, my goodness. That is amazing.
Well, then think about $6 trillion spent over there in Iraq. Take $6 trillion. We got 300 million people. Figure out what the American people would have if we hadn't spent that money
we
over there.
hadn't spent that money. We'd be prosperous already.
Well, this is the thing that Trump understands. I mean, he understands. I mean, we've talked about several times. I always ask, where's the other 93%?
Exactly. Well, you know, we also talked about, I remember talking about a few shows back about how much money the campaign against ISIS started in 2014, and I forgot. I wish I had my figures in front of me, but it was a phenomenal amount of money. Something like we ended up spending 6 billion or something like that, and it was something like $11 million a day every time they had airstrikes, and it was
Yeah.
something like 9,000 airstrikes. And my question was, what good did it do?
Well, my question of that goes further than that. My question goes, why did they start it? There was no ISIS before Obama and Hillary.
No, no,
So I got to ask you the question.
no. When they pulled the troops out, ISIS.
Well, how
raised
about
it.
when the arms were being in Libya? The arms were going to ISIS.
Yeah,
To overthrow
exactly.
Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Now, who started that? Who was in on that? And who was getting
The
paid that?
Secretary of State was in on it.
There you
the
go.
President of the United States.
There you go.
I am so glad to be rid of him. I am so glad he's gone. I'm so glad that administration is down the road.
Well, you know, the money that they asked Trump last night, I'm sure you might have caught that, but he said, you know, you only been here a week. What has really been a eye opener for you? And Trump thought a little bit. And he says the waste. We have wasted.
I did miss that. I wish I did.
Yeah, it's the waste. It's just incredible. Now, what you're seeing is like the State Department, the 4 top people, oh man, they resigned. What's going to happen? They didn't resign. That's just a polite word for saying fired.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, and there's going to be a lot of others fired.
Oh, there's some heads.
I'm
coming
going to tell you what's going to happen. There's going to be investigations because both parties, there's a lot of people that have been crooked and corrupt. All right, probably damn near all of them, but let's
Yeah.
just say, okay. So what's going to happen there is the heat's going to be put on, and they're not going to spare anyone if Sessions is in there. Why are they fighting Sessions so hard? Well, if you're crooked, you would file.
Well, heck yeah.
I would. I'd be
Yeah.
I'd be
'Cause
living.
Sessions is
Oh,
not going to take.
absolutely.
He's a heck of a lot.
There's
like
no
Trump.
other reason not to have Sessions other than you get Sessions, then I got to go to jail.
Yeah.
That's a good reason for me not wanting
Oh, yeah.
Sessions.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
that's the only reason it is why you all don't want Sessions.
Very interesting
right?
and
So,
very true.
Okay, now what happens? They go to these guys. Now, they have all kinds of employees, government employees that was filing their papers and, well, you know, being their employee, all right, doing what they say to do. Every one of those employees knew what they typed, knew what they sent, knew who they contacted, took the phone calls and so forth. Now the heat goes on them as far as being culpable in these crimes.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to hear singing of canaries like you've never heard before.
I bet we will.
You could be standing up there at Arlington Cemetery up on that hill, look down in Washington early in the morning, and put your ear to it,
And then
and
you're going to hear him singing.
you'll think you was in an aviary.
Yeah.
And you wait and see. And there are going to be a lot of heads roll. In fact, there's going to be a lot of heads roll that people had no idea, okay?
Oh yeah.
And,
That's all part of draining the swamp, isn't it?
well, it's part of the Drain Swamp. And they got a guy right now, he said, hey, I got the plug to the bottom of that swamp. I don't know if he's still alive or not,
I love this.
but he's a former, he's a patriot.
Yeah.
And it's like these demonstrators, you know, I look at them and I say, wait a minute, are they Americans? Well, they are in name only,
That's it.
but they have nothing else in
That's
common.
it. Well, you know, the fact that the American people are starting to wake up and realize that these people are being paid.
Well,
They're being paid.
they have nothing in common with being American.
No.
I mean, when you think of America, there's certain things that you think about, right? One of them being freedom, of course, the flag,
Yeah.
being a patriot, and doing your
Patriots do not burn flags.
well,
Okay, let's you know.
and patriots do
They
not
do
rob
not.
from the taxpayer.
Exactly.
And so these people that have been ripping us off, are they really Americans like you and I, or most Americans, all the ones that voted for Trump?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
So if they're not, then what are they? There's something I got to defeat and get rid of because they're going to ruin me.
Well,
You can't change them unless they want to change.
yeah, if they're not
Right.
communists, they're certainly socialists. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, the problem with socialists is that it ends up being communist
Exactly.
or fails completely.
Exactly.
Before they get to that step. I'm
Yeah.
seeing that. I've been watching that Venezuela real close.
Yeah.
Boy, there's a.
You talked about that.
I mean, but then you go back to China, to go back to Russia, go back to Cuba. We'll go to all the Cambodia.
Yeah.
It always the same.
Yeah. It never works.
And they
I mean,
all
that's the bottom
fail.
line. It never works.
And they
It
all
never
fail.
has.
They
all
all
fail.
fail.
Every
Yeah.
one of them fail.
Absolutely. And you see California right now. California's not it's a free country, but California is a socialist state that's being run like a communist state.
It will be until we get rid of Jerry Brown.
Well, I think I don't think that's going to make any difference. I think
don't?
no. Here's what I think. I think that California has to go bankrupt, so the feds come in and now tell them how to run a country
That's
or
interesting,
run a
yeah.
state. Well, who's better to have do that than Donald Trump? I hope in the next 8 years or 4 years that he's going to be here.
Yeah.
But the point is, until they go bankrupt, what's going to stop them from voting more taxes, more and more spending?
And believe me, I'm a
Is
small
it-
businessman. It
can-
is not good.
Well, can you
know?
see one of those people that are the Democrats running this country? Or this state? Can you see one of them stand up and say, "Boy, we got to do this"?
They're not going to do
They're
it.
not going to do
They
it.
haven't done it.
The only way it has to go completely down and bankrupt, which is close to that.
We're in bad shape. This state is in really.
Well,
really
Trump's
bad
not going to just write you a check. He's going to put strings on it. Okay, yeah, I'll write you this check, but you got to get rid of this and get rid of
Get
that.
rid of
and-
that,
yeah.
yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's going to take that kind of a thing. And
I hope he does it soon.
well, I mean, the other day you get your gas raised 14 cents. What have you ever heard of something like that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Unbelievable.
we're paying taxes. Wait, about double what I used to pay for gas not that many years ago.
you know,
You know,
about 3 years ago, I went to Oklahoma. I was I pulled into. I thought the thing was like a misprint or something. The price of gas. California is paying about $1.50 more than Oklahoma. Now I realize Oklahoma has lots of refineries. I realize that they've got lots of oil wells. I realize that, but $1.50 more. That tells me then somebody is manipulating this that shouldn't be.
well, what if I told you it had nothing to do with the oil wells? What if I told it had everything to do with a way of confiscating money from the people in California for what?
And that's just another means of.
Oh,
doing it.
absolutely. I don't
Yeah,
care if you had
that
a
makes
wall.
sense, Gary.
I don't care if you had an oil well in every yard here in California. I don't care if everybody had an oil well
Or a refinery.
or a refinery.
Yeah.
They'd still be paying that tax. Why are they paying that? Because of these people liberals don't know how to spend money. They're not responsible. They're not accountable. They have no idea how to do that. You watch the habits of a liberal, and you ask me if you see an accountable one or a responsible one, or do you see an excuse and blame?
Well, we just came through it.
Well, you see it all the time.
Spend.
Yeah, it's an
Exactly.
excuse and blame.
Yeah.
Well, we're not. What is it? We're not taxing enough. So they blaming the taxpayers for their own inability to do anything, of which they never have to be responsible or accountable. What if somebody held their feet to the fire? Well, who's going to do that? Who has the power to do that? The federal government,
Yes, they do.
Donald Trump. And that's what will happen to California. I hope it happens right away.
I do too.
I hope it goes
yeah,
bankrupt
but like I
tomorrow.
said, I'm a small businessman. I hope
Right.
it does.
Yeah.
And the regulations, it's
Oh,
just
man.
unreal. I mean, it's just, if you're a small businessman, you're suffering,
Right.
you know.
Sanctuary cities, my lord.
Oh, yeah.
Every major city with the most crime and poverty and ghetto or whatever you want to call it, every one of them run by a Democrat.
Yeah.
Now, how come there isn't at least one that's not run by a Republican?
You're right. Look at Chicago
That's
that we
right.
talked
Perfect
about.
example.
Look at San Francisco.
Look at Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle. You're
Look
right.
at Los Angeles. I mean, you go any major city is going to have a Democrat mayor.
Yeah.
And every major city that we know has a huge problem.
Every one of them.
Every one of them.
Every single
Yeah.
one of them. You're right.
Okay, and what's going to straighten that out? It takes responsibility and accountability,
Accountability. Yeah.
of which that is totally out of a liberal's mindset. And you can see that when these demonstrators, or
Oh, yeah.
rioters, I should say, I mean, when they interview them, you can see right there,
Yeah.
everything's blame and excuse. I mean, they're blaming Trump or they're blaming
Of
this.
course
but
they are.
They never
Yeah.
take the responsibility themselves. They never look in the mirror.
They're lining their own pockets. is
Oh
what
my
they're doing.
God! I mean, and they're paying those idiots. But here's what they're doing now, and they did that in Washington D.C. I believe it was. Yeah, they're taking those guys in for felonies,
good. Good.
and that's
I'm
going to
glad.
curtail some of this.
Yes.
In fact, when they start,
Somebody should be going to jail, Gary.
well,
you know?
for a long time it was, yeah, I ride, I'm cute, I tear this up, burn that car, I go to jail, I'm out the next day. Not with the felony. You're facing 10 years.
And see, that's you.
Yeah.
You named it. I just read the other day, like Emmanuel. You know, they'll arrest a guy for a felony in the morning, and if he doesn't plead out, which most of the time they
Oh,
do,
sure.
they've reduced it all the way down to a misdemeanor.
Absolutely, and he's out of jail.
So what stops these guys from going out and robbing, killing, and shooting and doing all these bad things because they know they're not going to have to do any time?
They don't have. They're not responsible.
No.
Or accountable. So there has to be a change, and sometimes the quickest way to change something is not necessarily trying to convince somebody with words, but a good rap to the side of the head.
That's right. That's right.
Which brings me up to another interesting deal I saw the other day. Mad Dog.
Uh-huh.
He's the head of defense, right? Mm-hmm. So they're interviewing this O'Neill, who was the guy that shot bin Laden. Mm-hmm. Well, at one time, O'Neill was under Mad Dog's command.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
And so the reporter, a snowflake, she's sitting there and she asks him, says, well, do you know Mad Dog or something like that about Mad Dog? He said, yeah, I sure do. And in fact, I've been in his home. And he's got a bear rug in his home. He's telling this snowflake.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't want to see any animal killed, including grasshoppers,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
He said, and he's got a bear rug in his home. And she's kind of looking, and he says, and it's not dead. It's just too scared to move.
I love it. I love what you said a while ago about a good wrap up the head. Because my dad, he was an old cowboy. And he said, sometimes, you just got to go out and horsewhip an old boy.
Yeah.
Just straighten him up. And
Yeah.
horsewhipping works.
Well, sure it does.
Horsewhipping works.
Well, if it didn't, the guy wouldn't do it.
That's right.
It works more than you think. But I got a big kick out of that. That little snowflake, she was just, she didn't. He said, yeah, he's got a bear rug there, but it doesn't move. I mean, he said, it's still dead. I mean, it's not dead, but it doesn't
Too
move.
afraid to move.
Yeah,
I
too
love
afraid
that.
to move.
He is something else, Mad Dog, isn't he?
Well, it's what he did. I think his first phone call was after they approved him.
Uh-huh.
I think he went right to a payphone, dialed over there in Syria, and sent 31 airplanes immediately, and they nailed about
Yeah.
100 ISIS. Yeah.
I love this. I'm loving this. And people, you've got the liberal press that are saying, how's he going to do this? And they jump on everything. Like recently, as of yesterday, they're jumping on about the president of Mexico canceling. So what?
Well, that's all part of it.
It's all part of it.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of people may not realize this, but the president of Mexico is not that well liked by the Mexicans I know anyway.
Is that right?
Right,
Gary?
in
See,
Mexico.
this is something else I'm learning.
Well, I didn't know that either. I said, because I think he's pretty cool,
Yeah.
No, the ones I know anyway, they don't like this guy that well. And Trump knows that. Mm-hmm. And so, Trump comes in there with that 20% that he's going to tax them and pay for the wall. In fact, it pays for it in 1 year.
Yeah.
10 billion.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
In 1 year. That's
one
good.
year.
That's excellent.
Yeah, but see, because we're not charging any tariff for all that stuff Mexico's sitting in here.
Oh, my goodness. That's a ton of money.
And that's 20%.
Yeah.
Is 10 billion. So you can imagine that 60 billion is what it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
The tariff.
Yeah.
Mexico is paying for the wall through tariff.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Mexican, he has to go, the president has to go and say, well, I'm not showing up, and that's fine, and Trump knows all that, but he's still going to pay for the wall,
Oh, yeah, he is.
and Trump knows that too.
Yeah.
But he's in a way, he's kind of telling them that, look, you get with the program, and here's how we can do it, where it really is going to benefit Mexico.
Yes, it is.
and it's going to benefit
And he said
us.
that right along. He
Right,
said, you know, I want to have a good relationship.
Well,
with
he's not
Mexico.
interested. He's not interested in a bad relationship with
No.
Mexico at all.
No, and he said
He
this
wants a
is
fair
a
relationship.
fair relationship.
And one of the things that's not fair is that they're sending all these goods up there and pay it free. And so
Yeah.
our companies go down there and manufacture with the cheap labor of Mexico and send those products up here and don't have to pay a tax, okay? So is that fair? No, that's
No.
not fair, okay?
I
So,
love what he did. You know, punishing our automakers. If they bring things in, he's gonna tax them at 35%.
Right.
You know, what's that gonna do? That's gonna
Right.
make them stop doing it.
yeah, and he
You know,
says that,
exactly.
he said that's what you're gonna do, you know? He says, you make it out there, bring it 35%. And he's very, boy, they come out there happy with Trump.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. They do.
And you watch that Mexico deal. You're gonna see how that's gonna change in Trump's favor. Of course, the media's gonna trade it all.
Oh, of
the
course
opposite,
they are. They're
you
already
know.
doing it.
And they're probably
already doing
they're
it.
already doing it. But that's how stupid they are, out of touch they are, and that's why they're no longer in power. And that's why people are by the droves are now going to
They're
alternative
waking
media.
up.
Yeah,
They're waking up.
yeah, by the droves. And I could see in the future that people with the technology we have, TV's obsolete in a sense.
Well, yeah, it is.
In fact,
Because-
right now, like for myself, TV is really just a big monitor that I just hook my computer in and away I
Yeah.
go, you know. And more people are doing. They call that cutting the cord, you know.
Cutting the cord.
Yeah.
I like that.
And every time I go in there, boy, I cut the cord. I
Yeah.
cut the cord. And so the communication to the people. This is another thing they do not realize how, and it's right out in the open. You notice that Trump used the word we. We. They counted 90-some eyes with Obama in one of his speeches.
Of course. Yeah.
They counted three eyes with Trump. his
He
last
has
speech.
said we the people.
Yeah.
All the time. He said the American
Right.
people, we the people. He says
America
it all the
first.
time.
America first.
America
first.
Exactly.
So what is he thinking about with Mexico? He's only thinking about one thing: America, first.
Exactly.
But what do you have against that? What somebody wants to argue with you and says, "Look,
How can you have
yeah,
anything against that?
oh well,
You know?
that, I don't think that's good. What's going on the way at
It
Mexico?
didn't
is-
happen with this past generation.
Oh, no, of course
Everybody
not.
else was
Because
first
we were-
instead of us.
We had a president, and who was apologizing for being American instead of being proud to be an American. He'd go to those countries and apologize to them.
Everyone was so scared when he went to Japan for the the anniversary of Hiroshima,
Yeah.
Nagasaki, that he was going to apologize for what we did over there. He didn't, but everybody said. I remember they were all saying, "Oh my goodness, I hope he doesn't do that." You know.
Well, he had no I don't know. He had something. Well, he's a socialist communist, and that's the way he was, his background and everything. You know, and I don't know. He is a good speaker, I guess. I don't like a guy lying that much, but then a lot of people liked it, and they claim he's a very good orator. But he had the people behind him. Who did he have behind him? All the crooks,
Oh yeah.
all the
Yeah.
media crooks, all the corrupt.
Well, there's so much. There's so much that is false that is fed to the American people, like his approval rating. We all know that was he didn't have an approval rating of 60%.
Of course
Are you
not.
kidding me?
I mean, my lord, now they're coming up with some real approval ratings,
Yeah.
and it's way down the tubes.
Yeah.
Okay, in fact, it's worse than Bush and Clinton combined. You know?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But you see, when you have these people, that deep state that's controlling both the Congress and the Senate
Mm-hmm.
and the President of the United States, and then when you analyze or think about what makes a lot of sense to you, that those people, I'm talking about the deep state,
Yeah.
that's just a few families, you know, and well, it's bigger than that, but it's the richest people in.
Sure.
All right. Now, when you think about that, what in the world, with that kind of connection that these people have with the Congress and the Senate, who would be the best president? And I would be in favor of that if I was one of them too.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of anybody better than Hillary Clinton. The perfect liar. She's crooked and she's corrupt.
Absolutely.
She'd be absolutely, totally perfect. So that's why they were so, so driven to try to get her in there. But you could, because man, that's all she is, a pay for play.
Exactly.
Now, what brings the evidence of that? She had to shut down one of her foundations because people stopped giving. Well, why would you stop giving if to her foundation to help people? It's because there was no longer any influence.
Exactly.
So that's an admission to guilt right there. My God, my whole thing, I had to lay off 22 people because nobody sent in any money. Well, why were they sending money before? Oh, I was Secretary of State.
Yeah.
Why aren't they sending you money now? Because I'm on the side of the sidewalk.
Exactly.
So why is anybody going to send money? Now, you would send money if there was something that you were receiving. Did she have a factory and manufacture anything? No. And look how much of that money actually went to the poor people.
Oh, gosh, less than 6%?
Oh,
Like that
it's
percent?
ridiculous. It's a total admission of guilt as far
Sure
as
it
I
is.
look at it. And then when you look at the state, who do they want? Well, they wanted her. Who did the media want? The media wanted who their bosses wanted, because every one of that media is owned by people that are deep state.
Exactly.
see?
Soros being one of them.
That's right. That kind of people. Okay. Now, I call them globalists or one world order. But think about this, Ray. 8 people control 50% of the world's wealth. That's pretty hefty.
You doggone right.
I mean, we're not talking half of China or half of Russia, but the whole world is
yeah.
controlled
Controlled by 8 people.
8 people. Okay.
Bill Gates being one of them.
But you know who those 8 are? 6 of them are Democrats.
Oh, I'm not surprised. That
Not
doesn't
one of them
surprise
is
me
a
at all.
Republican, and
Yeah.
2 of them are foreigners.
Yeah.
And they control half of the world's wealth.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind them. That doesn't bother me any, except the fact that I know that when I look at the character of those people and what they represent, they do not represent America.
America. Not at all.
America's not first with them at all. 6 of them. You think America's first?
No. They've proved that.
Oh, they prove
this
it.
bit,
Yeah.
you know.
And just like Hillary Clinton, did she prove it? Well, she's proved that she can do what they tell her to do, and she's more than happy to do that.
Gary, we're going to take a little break here. And before I do that, I wanted to remind you again, please, if you feel like you'd like to call in and talk to Gary and I, we would love it. The number will appear on the screen. Please feel free to call. We're going to take a little break here. We're going to be back, ladies and gentlemen, in 2 and 2. Okay, we're back. Unfortunately, like every week when we have Gary Miguel on the show, time flies by, so I'm going to put him on the spot and ask him to come back next week.
Yeah, we'll get you back in here.
And, the best way, ladies and gentlemen, for me to be informative with you completely is to have this young man on the show because he's so, he's so learned, and we get the benefit of this. I get the benefit of this, and of course you get the benefit of that. So we're going to close on it, as I do every week, in my little speech about law enforcement. When you see these guys on the street, please, when you see them, go up and talk to them. Go up and let them know how much we appreciate them. Shake their hand, regardless of where they're at. You're not going to disturb them. They'll be glad that you did because so few people do this. And I want this to become a statewide, possibly, but certainly a citywide here in Fresno, where we actually talk to our police officers and tell them and thank them for all the good that they do. Because believe me, it's a tough job. They don't get paid a lot of money, and they're dedicated to what they're doing. They're fine young men and women of this city, and I appreciate them, and I know a lot of you do too. So don't feel shy. Go up and shake their hands. So until we meet again next Thursday, heaven's blessings.